Hello there. Welcome to this edition of Newspaper Review. Today is May 26, 2025. Alphonse Tebek is my name. We begin with the Garden Post newspaper that has this banner story concerning the Olympic Sports Complex and right. Construction of Olympic Sports Complex. Paris court on government's throat over 15 billion francs CFA owed Majul. Also in this edition of the paper, Hash 2025. Ecstasy has plane picks pilgrims from Kotaba Airport. West Region Governor Awafonka population salute President Paul Biya for historic flight 36 years after plane last seen at Aerodrome. A vital air of delight swept across the West Region this May 25 as 180 Muslim pilgrims boarded a plane from the Cameroon Airline Corporation, Cameco, from the Kotaba Airport in non-division for this year's Hajj. Today's flight was the first in 36 years. Thousands who witnessed the exercise said the special flight, officials said, was ordered by the head of state Paul Biya to give the pilgrims a memorable Hajj. We leave the Garden Post newspaper to this edition of the Cameroon Insider. It got this banner story also concerning Hajj 2025. Presidential support is this 2025 Hajj. The paper says that the first batch of 350 Cameroonian Muslim pilgrims left the Garoua International Airport Thursday, May 22, en route to Saudi Arabia for the annual pilgrimage to Mecca, known as the Hajj. Before leaving, each of the pilgrims, just like the remaining slightly over 4,000 that followed suit, received franc CFA 350,000 as part of the head of state's franc CFA 1.5 billion financial boost to ease their travels. Also in this edition, it got this story about Feka Food. Feka Food budgets close to 8 billion francs CFA for 2025. We leave that paper to the next paper, which is the Median newspaper. It got this story about recruitment into the army. And on the top left corner of the paper, it has this story: recruitment of 1,800 B soldiers launched. See release issued by the Minister of Defense inside this edition of the Median. Also in this edition, misplaced priority. Kribi Deep Sea Port, a wasteful investment indeed. That is the banner story in this edition, and goes ahead to recount that observers say the lack of good roads or a rail line linking Kribi to major cities in the country has negatively impacted the functioning of the multi-billion franc CFA seaport, which is now somewhat of a sleeping giant. Also in this edition of the Median newspaper, it got this story: evidence of peace and normalcy. Konye marks National Unity Day in pomp and style as Mayor Mosima George Lobe is elevated to dignity of Commander of National Order of Merit. From that paper, we return to the Garden Post newspaper. It got this story: 2025 presidentials, PCRN holds Congress at last. Invest Cabral Libi, party flag bearer, dreams to hand Biya first defeat in major polls, says country needs a total overhaul. From that paper, we go to the next newspaper, which is The Horizon. It got this banner story: single position candidate for 2025 presidential. Drawing of lots proposed. Another beautiful story on the paper concerns the 2025 presidentials, where Kamto secretly negotiating to be candidate for Pierre Quemos UMS, the paper writes. From that paper, we go to the Herald Tribune newspaper. It is also talking about the upcoming presidential election and rights. 2025 presidentials. Critic outlines 100 reasons Biya should step aside. And we close our review today with this third paper, the Dawn newspaper. It goes this banner story: Southwest Indigenous Lawyers Association holds Constituent Assembly. The paper goes ahead to say that in a landmark convening on Saturday, May 24, 2025, the Southwest Indigenous Lawyers Association, SWILA, formally commenced operations with its inaugural General Assembly held at the Royal House of Great Soproboya. This historic gathering signified the institutional birth of a regional professional body comprising legal practitioners of Southwest origin, with a mission to advance judicial excellence, cultural affirmation, and socio-legal development within the region. Also in this edition of the Dawn newspaper, power outages push Tico residents to the brink. The paper says frustration boiled over in Tico subdivision last Wednesday as dozens of residents, mostly women, flooded the streets in protest against an unrelenting power outage that has plunged the area into darkness for over 6 weeks. The blackout, they say, is not only making daily life unbearable, but could also have dire consequences for students preparing for the National GC examination set to begin in a few weeks' time. And that's it for this edition of Newspaper Review. Thanks so much for listening. God willing, we're going to be with you again next time for a fresh edition. Goodbye.